Senate need to play its role, just as the National Assembly also has its role to play.
Let Senate be given more powers. Raila advocates for Supreme Senate.
Happy to be back home. I have gone through very 4 dark days. I have been tortured very badly. I can barely walk.
Activist Boniface Mwangi is back on home soil after spending 3 tense days in Tanzanian detention.
People that feel they're being persecuted and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. Generally, they're white farmers and they're fleeing South Africa.
President Donald Trump confronted South African President Cyril Ramaphosa with explosive false claims of white genocide.
It's definitely been the toughest thing I've ever done, without a shadow of a doubt. And I knew that going into it. You know better than me that this club's had some unbelievable world-class coaches, world-class players, and they haven't had a night like this. So I knew what I was taking on.
Tottenham wins Europa League as Brennan Johnson's first half goal seals victory over Manchester United.
Well, to our first story. The Senate is mulling starting a parallel process to change the constitution to make the upper house a sibling rivalry with the National Assembly continues. In a process that's seemingly receiving the backing of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, the senators want all laws passed by the National Assembly to go through the Senate. Odinga also advocated for the Senate to be allowed to work independently, as Davis Karani reports.
Speaking at the Senate after meeting senators in Akamukunji today, Raila Odinga said that the Senate must be allowed to play its role in the legislative process akin to what happens in the United States of America.
Parliament is one of the 3 institutions of governance in our country. The executive, the legislature, the judiciary, and the others. Parliament represents the people.
Appearing to oppose the initiative by the National Assembly to change the constitution and entrench NGCDF in the constitution, Raila insisted that Parliament must only do its role as per the constitution.
Senate need to play its role, just as the National Assembly also has its role to play. You know, we have got countries with a similar constitutional structure, and it works very well. So we'd like to see our Senate work just like the Senate of the United States of America is working. And give it proper powers and responsibilities. Yes.
Speaking after a 2-hour meeting with Raila Odinga, senators expressed fears of forces that are hell-bent on clawing back the gains that have been made in the devolution.
So the National Assembly has also its sphere. And we say the National Assembly should do its work. And together, both National Assembly and the Senate form the Parliament. And Parliament's role is to represent, to legislate, and to oversight. The 3 functions are very important. The executive uses the laws that are passed by Parliament to govern the country. And judiciary interprets it.
Davis Karani for GBS News, Nairobi.
Deputy President Kivutha Kindiki today led a fund drive for small and medium-scale enterprises in South Murigaro in Kisii County. Politics became the order of the day, even as the Deputy President emphasized on the government's commitment on developing across the country.
South Mugirango MP Silvanus Osoro played host to the Deputy President Kivutha Kindiki today in South Mugirango as they held a funds drive for small-scale SACCOs.
Tutembee nao safari moja tukiwasaidia wapanue biashara zao, waelimishe watoto wao. Si namna hiyo? Wangapi wanasema tutembee na watu yetu?
Professor Kindiki stressed on the government's commitment to implement development projects countrywide as they put politics to the back burner until the electioneering period in 2027.
Kwa hivyo hiyo ndio kazi imetuleta hapa. Watu wengi wanafikiri tumekuja hapa mambo ya siasa. That's not true. Kwa sababu siku ya siasa bado haijafika. Iko uchaguzi saa hii. Ikifika tutakuja kuomba kura as usual. Na sio ati hatujawahi omba kura siku nyingine, tumeomba miaka mingi. Miaka na mikaka. So there is nothing special about the next election. So for now tunataka tusimame na wananchi saa hii mambo yao.
South Mugirango MP urged the Kisii community not to listen to the voices of opposition to the government.
So mimi leo nataka nikutangazie hivi. Hapa Kisii tumeamua, wacha hiyo propaganda, Mheshimiwa Faruku kidogo. Wacha hiyo propaganda ambayo ilikuwa inaenea hapa Gusii mzima. Sisi tunataka kufanya kazi na serikali. Kama kuna area watu wakukaribishi na wakaribishi rais, South Mugirango sisi tunamtaka. Kama kuna area watu hawataki barabara, wanataka jina, South Mugirango sisi tunataka. Kama kuna area watu hawataki stima, ni sawa. Hii miaka sisi tunataka maendeleo hapa kwetu.
Other leaders present also dismissed the opposition politician.
Mnataka baraba kama Wayahudi ama mnataka yule wa kuunganisha watu? Mnataka wa kuunganisha watu? Na mimi mwisho kabisa, mimi sijui watu wanachagua viongozi wakati gani. Lakini mimi niwaulize tu nyinyi watu wa Kisii. Na mimi nasema kama mtoto wenyu bila ubaya. Kama uraisi unachaguliwa kwa sababu ya usomi, huyu Profesa Kithure Kindiki na yule mtu wa shareholders ni nani amesoma? Mbona mnakaa kama mnaogopa nyinyi? Kama uraisi unachaguliwa kwa sababu ya kisomo, kati ya huyu Kithure Kindiki na yule mtu wa shares nani amesoma? Kati ya William Ruto na yule mtu wa shares nani amesoma?
Mumekuja na mumetuhakikishia ile maendeleo yote ambayo tuliuliza yatakuwa. Sasa tuende wapi kutafuta maendeleo? Si tukae huko. Hapo ndio serikali iko na tutatembea na hii serikali mpaka mwisho mahali watamalizia, tumalize na wao na tuende ingine. Asante sana, Mungu awabariki. Moko genda andosi. Tabia bantu ngantogoro. Cherusa mumanyi ntogoro, nero kolio mugaba na bwanya mire, mumubwatesie. Asawa seni bia.
Aya, huyo mama ameongea lugha ya nyumbani sawa. Mama ameleta shilingi 100,000, makofi kwake.
Activist Boniface Mwangi is back on home soil after spending 3 intense days in Tanzania's detention. His release follows mounting diplomatic pressure from Nairobi and growing concern over his health and safety. Mwangi, who was arrested while attending a high-profile trial in Dar es Salaam, now alleges torture during his detention, a claim that has intensified calls for accountability from Tanzanian authorities. Susan Nganga with more on the details.
But I'm very concerned about Agatha because we were tortured together and they did very horrible things to us. So I hope that Agatha is safe. So wherever Agatha is, she should know that you're praying for her and for her safety. And thank you to everyone who spoke, who stood with us. The solidarity wasn't in vain.
Boniface Mwangi was earlier today released by Tanzanian authorities and is now back on Kenyan soil. His arrest had sparked a diplomatic outcry from Nairobi, with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs demanding his immediate release, citing concerns for his health and a breach of international law. Boniface Mwangi was arrested in Dar es Salaam alongside Ugandan activist Agatha while attending the treason trial of Tanzanian opposition leader Tundu Lissu. Their detention was shrouded in secrecy, their whereabouts unknown.
Kwanza ambacho tutamadvise ama tumemwadvise Boniface Mwangi ni kwamba kulingana na sheria lazima tupige ripoti kwa serikali ya Kenya ili serikali ya Kenya iweze kuchukua hatua. Lakini wakati amepiga ripoti kwa serikali ya Kenya, pia tutapiga ripoti kwa taasisi nyingine za Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki na pia vile vile Afrika na Umoja wa Mataifa. Kwa hivyo hili ni jambo ambalo kisheria linakeuka sheria kadhaa zikihusiana zile sheria za international law.
This sparked alarm among human rights groups and triggered a formal protest from the Kenyan government. Officials say Tanzania's denial of consular access violated the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations, to which both Kenya and Tanzania are signatories.
Of you who saw the letter from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs this morning, clearly the Tanzanian government is in breach of its obligations under international law, the laws governing diplomatic relations, all efforts by the Kenyan government to have the Kenyan consulate in Tanzania to reach Boniface were not honored. Tanzania, just like Kenya, we have the East African Community Treaty, which protects the rights of all East African citizens. Those ones have been breached by what Boniface Mwangi has been subjected to.
Following mounting pressure, Boniface was released and dropped off at the Kenyan-Tanzania border near Ukunda in Kwale County. His lawyers say he could barely walk and alleges that he may have been tortured during his detention. Mwangi has since been transferred to Nairobi for medical attention.
Boni was dropped in Horohoro border post, and he found his way up to Lunga and got transport, and Kilifi picked him up. I called Kilifi and he picked.
The Tanzanian government has not yet issued a formal statement on the arrest or the release. However, President Suluhu had earlier warned against foreign activists interfering in Tanzania's internal affairs. Susan Nganga, GBS News, Nairobi.
Machakos Governor Wavinya Ndeti has called on the national government to accompany the planned devolution of the universal health coverage staff with adequate funding. The governor raised the concern during Nurses Week celebrations, cautioning that counties may be unable to absorb the personnel without financial support. She emphasized that current economic conditions and delayed fund disbursements make it unsustainable for counties to take an additional responsibility without matching resources. Here is more the story.
Machakos Governor Wavinya Ndeti has urged the national government to ensure that the transfer of universal health coverage staff to counties includes adequate financial support. Her appeal came during the Nurses Week celebrations in Machakos, where she raised concerns about the potential strain on the county resources if staff are transferred without corresponding funds.
Kama ni health yote inafanywa na counties, si ndio? Ikuje ile pesa iko supposed kwenda kuja devolution, ikuje devolution.
You work with our leadership, because when there is dialogue, we will reduce the industrial disharmony in all the counties, and especially here in Machakos.
Governor Wavinya highlighted that expecting counties to absorb universal health coverage personnel without financial backing, especially under the current economic pressures and delayed national disbursement, is unsustainable. She also took the opportunity to commend nurses for their dedication, particularly in remote and underserved areas, and outlined her administration's achievements in improving health infrastructure and workforce support.
If you want to devolve them with the money. Si sawa? Hawezi kutuambia their contracts are ending next year, isn't it? Yes. They are ending next year March. Alafu natuambia to absorb na mjatupatia pesa. Sisi tunataka pesa. We are already in problems. They are our children, we love them. And by then they worked.
On his end, Deputy Governor Francis Mwangangi echoed her concerns, citing delayed funding and increased deductions from civil servant salaries as major obstacles. Kenya National Union of Nurses and Midwives chairperson Joseph Ngwasi praised the county's leadership for its strong support of the nursing profession and commitment to healthcare improvement.
You can imagine, here you have a governor who is receiving less than 9%, although wanasema ni 24, although the constitution talks about at least 15, meaning they can go up to even 50%. Here we are. She's having that less than 9%, na tunataka hiyo pesa iongezwe. Na tunataka mandawa inunuliwe. We want everything to run smoothly. How is it going to work? Let national government respect devolution and devolve that which is supposed to be devolved.
The call for devolving funds alongside the universal health coverage staff reflects a broader concern among county leaders about ensuring sustainability and quality in public healthcare. Without proper financial planning, counties may face difficulties maintaining critical health services. Beatrice Wangoi, GBS News.
On reproductive health more than mental.
The proposed multi-billion shillings Uyombo nuclear plant has been met with fierce resistance from residents of Uyombo village and local leaders who have unanimously opposed the project, citing environmental concerns. Last week, the project suffered another major blow when Energy and Petroleum Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandanyi, accompanied by officials from the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, toured Kilifi and a fact-finding mission.
During a meeting with the National Assembly Parliamentary Committee on Environment, Forest and Mining, residents of Uyombo, Kilifi County came out clearly opposing the construction of a 1,000 megawatts multi-billion shilling nuclear plant in Kilifi County, citing fears of environmental and health risks to the community.
Hii nuclear kwetu hatuitaki, na ni kwa sababu ya mambo ya afya, kwa sababu ya mambo ya mazingira. Uvuvi ndio chakula chetu tegemeo. Sasa wakituambia kwamba eti samaki hawatapotea na wanatumia zile maji for cooling system, hiyo sikubaliani nayo.
Led by Anthony Kingi, they accused the committee of being biased after making conclusion in support of the project, which has caused tension and unrest among the residents of Uyombo.
Unasikia, nitakana aite watu wasikize, achukue maoni ya wananchi, ya stakeholders wengi, then wafanye decision as a committee kulingana na maoni ambayo yametolewa, lakini yeye amekuwa biased.
The nuclear power plant has also brought division among members of the committee, as the chair, who is the Mwala MP, Vincent Musyoka, differed with Kilifi women representative Gertrude Mbeyu, who opposed the project, accusing NEMA and the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency for failing to conduct public participation and to empower locals on the project.
By having this plant in Uyombo, it does not necessarily pose any danger. There's been advancement, a lot of advancements in technology. It's known worldwide that the accidents that have ever happened are no more than 3 accidents.
Mimi nasema hakuna nuclear Kilifi, hakuna nuclear Uyombo, hakuna nuclear Matangoni, hakuna nuclear Kilifi North.
Environmental experts, led by Elizabeth Kariuki, the hub director of the East Africa Hub of Natural Justice, has referred the project to have not aligned itself to the climate adaptation and mitigation.
The project does not align itself with our national policies with regards to climate adaptation and mitigation, because in those policies we speak about moving towards a just energy transition using renewable energy sources.
This is Jeff Abuki, GBS TV News, Nairobi.
Family Bank Group has reported a 15.4% increase in profit before tax to 1.5 billion shillings for the first 3 months of 2025, up from 1.3 billion shillings recorded last year. The performance was driven by sustained growth in interest income, a strong balance sheet, and prudent cost management. Total assets rose by 19.2% to 174 billion shillings, driven by a 10.1% growth in the land book, which stood at 96.2 billion shillings, and a 3.3% increase in investment in government securities. Susan Nganga with more.
QR code there.
Family Bank Group has posted a strong start to 2025, reporting a 15.4% rise in profit before tax to 1.5 billion shillings, up to 1.3 billion last year.
Core capital continues to be well above the statutory minimum of 10%, 8%. We are at 13.2% and going up. Our liquidity
as at Q1, closed at 46.9%, which is an improvement from 43%. And this is double the statutory limit.
The impressive growth was driven by a 32.6% surge in net interest income and strong performance in digital banking, with over 90% of transactions now processed digitally.
If you look at our corporate structure, we have actually dedicated an entire limited company, Pesapap, on digitization. And we've even gone further. We're actually pulling down our entire core banking infrastructure and putting in a new core banking system.
The bank's total assets rose to 174 billion shillings, supported by increased lending and investment in government securities. Customer deposits grew by nearly 20% to 132.3 billion, while non-funded income jumped 32% thanks to a higher transaction volumes and uptake of new products, including bond assurance. CEO Nancy Njau attributed the performance to the bank's new 2025-2029 strategy focused on innovation, digital transformation, and supporting SMEs.
I've talked about MSME, and if you look at year on year, this has recorded the significant growth on our numbers, recording 39%. And what this means is that the strategy clarity we are very clear in our minds. This is the space to play in. It has recorded a growth of 39%, indicating strong momentum. We have our retail that has grown by 37%, and this is a huge endorsement for Family Bank. It shows and demonstrates our customers actually accept the solutions that we offer. The commercial segment also recorded a significant growth also of 23%.
Despite higher operating costs, Family Bank remains well capitalized and liquid, with strong ratios that exceed regulatory requirements. Susan Nganga, GBS News, Nairobi.
Well, it is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into a social media platform at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 21114. We'll be right back.
Today, it's that day that I would like us just to have that conversation on monthly matters.
Let's talk of Mama Fua, who like akifanya shughuli zake hapa kule has more or less that amount.
Yeah, so on that part, I would say this. When you are doing your savings, we normally talk about having 3 buckets. So we will just talk about income, budgeting, saving, and investment. Those are the 4 areas we will look at.
Happens to those like me who are planning to retire early.
We are basically looking at our incomes. We also talk about savings and investment. So those are the 3. I will not add the 4th one, which we all shy of talking about. So I would say it's not how much I am earning, but it is how much I set aside. So
remove my skin and I won't cry. But you might. What am I? Are you still practicing art ukifanya your engineering? Umezimix ama umeenda tu fully on art? Sasa najua hebu kwanza tutajia because najua huwezi taja wote. Just some of the people wenye, some of the celebs wenye umeweza ku reveal your art to them.
Kroba bibi yake. Hiyo siku walifurahia mbaya. Mimi nilikuwa emotional mbaya sana.
Lilia.
Go check that video guys. Nililia mbaya.
I was seeing kuna place ulikuwa unasema like Biendo alikusaidia sana in building your career. Unaweza tuambie hiyo moment wenye ilikuanga?
We
everywhere. GBS.
And welcome back now to international news. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa met American President Donald Trump amid tension over Washington's resettlement of Afrikaners who the U.S. claim are victims of genocide.
Ramaphosa had hoped to use Wednesday's meeting to reset his country's relationship with the U.S. after Trump cancelled much-needed aid to South Africa, offered refuge to white minority Afrikaners, expelled the country's ambassador, and criticized its genocide court against Israel.
Many people that feel they're being persecuted and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. Generally, they're white farmers and they're fleeing South Africa.
Coming back to this issue, which I really would like us to talk about, and talk about it very calmly. We were taught by Nelson Mandela that whenever there are problems, people need to sit down around a table and talk about them.
Well, there are
and this is precisely what we would also like to talk about, including, of course, trade matters, investment matters. So the issues that concern you as the United States.
Those are all recent. Those are all deaths.
Yeah, in many ways, I mean, one should say you are a partner of South Africa, and you are raising concerns, and these are concerns that we are willing to talk to you about.
The South African president arrived to the U.S. prepared for an aggressive reception, bringing popular white South African golfers as part of his delegation and saying he wanted to discuss trade. The U.S. is South Africa's second biggest trading partner, and the country is facing a 30% tariff under Trump's currently suspended draft of import taxes.
Criminality that we are experiencing in our country needs quite a lot of technological capability. And in one of our areas in South Africa, we're using US technology, which is able to, in many ways, identify where shootings are happening and all that. And I'd like to talk about that because there is support that we can get from you and the United States to help us deal with all these acts of criminality. And that is what I believe partnership is all about.
But in a carefully choreographed Oval Office onslaught, Trump pounced, moving quickly to a list of concerns about the treatment of white South Africans, which he punctuated by playing a video and leafing through a stack of printed news articles that he said proved his allegations.
People are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. Yes. South African occupy land. That's who we are. Honorable member, you want to do, Speaker, you can withdraw my membership from this useless parliament. Honorable. Yes, honorable member. Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act.
With the lights turned down at Trump's request, the video played on a television that is not normally set up at the Oval Office showed white crosses, which Trump asserted were the graves of the white people, and the opposition leaders making incendiary speeches. Trump suggested one of them, Julius Malema, should be arrested.
The mayor of DA in PE is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, don't worry. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness.
Following the meeting between Ramaphosa and Trump, Ramaphosa sought to focus on trade, telling reporters that the two countries had agreed to discuss on the critical minerals in South Africa.
Say, if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me.
Davis Karani for GBS News, Nairobi.
In the wake of the recent Kashmir conflict and India's military response, an Indian multi-party political delegation has arrived in Japan as a part of a major diplomatic outreach. The visit comes days after Operation Sindhu, India's targeted strikes on terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, following the deadly Pahalgam terror attack that claimed at least 26 civilian lives.
An Indian multi-party political delegation has arrived in Japan, led by Janata Member of Parliament Sanjay. The all-party delegation touched down in Tokyo Thursday morning. Members from across India's political spectrum, including the BJP Congress, Trinamool Congress, CPI, and a former ambassador, are part of this rare show of unity. Their mission to present India's stance on cross-border terrorism and urge the global community to support India's right to self-defense.
One of the delegations has come to Japan. 9 of us are here, and we have just started our visit in Japan. And the first thing that we did was we came to the Embassy of India, and we had a very good dialogue, discussion with the ambassador and his team. We wanted to understand many things about Japan and about their viewpoint about the Pahalgam attack that occurred in Pahalgam in Srinagar on April 22nd. So I think he made a presentation, the ambassador, and we all actually understood different aspects of this entire country's demeanor, texture, nature towards India and towards the Pahalgam massacre. So that was it. So after learning, after understanding, we are on the move, and we will be going to different offices. We will be meeting the foreign minister. It's likely that we'll be meeting him or his deputy. And then there is a series of meetings with different officials from the government. And I'm sure it's going to be very fruitful. I'm very optimistic and confident.
The delegation began its visit by offering floral tributes to Mahatma Gandhi. They will meet Japanese lawmakers, ministers, and think tanks, highlighting India's action under Operation Sindhu and the need for international cooperation against terrorism. Japan was among the first countries to condemn the Pahalgam attack. Japanese officials have reiterated their hope for restraint and dialogue between India and Pakistan, expressing concern that the situation could escalate further. India is sending 7 such delegations to over 30 capitals worldwide, aiming to build consensus against what it calls Pakistan-sponsored terrorism and to explain its military response. Susan Nganga, GBS News, Japan.
A former Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of Congo has been sentenced to a decade's forced labor for corruption. Now, Augustine Matata Ponyo was found guilty of embezzling about $245 million of public funds by the Congolese Constitutional Court on Tuesday, alongside Degracius Mutombo, the former governor of DR Congo's central bank.
Augustine Matata served as Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of Congo from 2012 to 2016. Matata, who is not in custody, was found guilty. Democratic Republic of Congo's Constitutional Court said of embezzling $245 million from projects, including the Bukanga Lonzo Agro-Industrial Development in 2020. One of Africa's largest ever agricultural investments, it was touted as an answer to chronic food shortages when it launched in 2014. 3 years later, production ceased when the South African country operating it left the Democratic Republic of Congo, saying that it had not been paid in months. However, Ponyo's lawyer Onyemba said on Tuesday that the trial against his client was unfair and politically motivated. Onyemba said that Augustine Ponyo is in Kinshasa.
The ruling is disconnected from the truth and invalidates any credibility for the image of our justice system.
L'image dit établie en fait comme en droit. The court said a former governor of Congo's central bank, Deogratius Mutombo, and South African businessman Christo Grobler were also sentenced to 5 years of forced labor.
The case against Ponyo, PM, from 2012 to 2016 was opened in 2021 as investigators appointed by President Felix Tshisekedi began digging into the conduct of the previous government. This is Jeff Abuki, GBS TV News, Nairobi.
2 staff members of the Israeli embassy in Washington were shot and killed on Wednesday. They were leaving an event at the Capital Jewish Museum when the suspect approached a contingent of 4 people and opened fire. Metropolitan Police Chief Pamela Smith said at a news conference the suspect, identified as Elias Rodriguez, was 30 years old, of Chicago, was observed pacing outside the museum before the shooting began, walked into the museum after the shooting and was detained by event security. Police say the suspect, identified as Chicago man Elias, who is 30 years old, chanted "Free Palestine" following his arrest over the shooting, which occurred at 9:15 p.m. local time after they left an event at the Jewish Capitol Museum focused on helping Gazans. The victims have been named as Yaron and his partner Sarah. Writing on Truth Social, U.S. President Donald Trump immediately condemned the shooting and anti-Semitism, commenting these horrible DC killings, based obviously on anti-Semitism, must end now. Hatred and radicalization have no place in the USA. The stunning attack prompted Israeli missions to beef up their security. The shooting comes as Israel has launched another major offensive in the Gaza Strip in the war with Hamas that has heightened tensions across the Middle East and internationally.
And then a guy came in looking really distressed. And we thought that he just needed help.
We thought he was experiencing violence or something outside.
And he just needed safe shelter, so he comes in. And
so people were calming him down, bringing him water, taking care of him. Little did we know he was somebody that executed people in cold blood. He was the shooter? He was the shooter.
He was the shooter, yeah.
Once the police originally showed up, he's like, I did this, I'm unarmed. He pulls out a red keffiyeh and he's like, I did this for Gaza, free Palestine. There's only one solution, Intifada revolution, and he just kept yelling "Free Palestine." And I'm like, dude, this event was about humanitarian aid. How can we actually help both the people in Gaza and the people in Israel? How can we bring together Muslims and Jews and Christians to work together to actually help the innocent people? And then here he is just murdering 2 people in cold blood.
Couple that was gunned down tonight in the name of Free Palestine. It's a young couple about to be engaged. The young man purchased a ring this week with the intention of proposing to his girlfriend next week in Jerusalem. They were a beautiful couple who came to enjoy an evening in Washington's Cultural Center. I will say this: we are a resilient people. The people of Israel are resilient people, and the people of the United States of America are resilient people. Together we won't be afraid, together we'll stand, and we're going to overcome moral depravity of people who think that they're going to achieve political gains through murder. On the way in, Ms. Bondi was kind enough to hand me the phone. On the other line was the President of the United States, Donald Trump, who told me that his administration is going to do everything it can possibly do to fight and end anti-Semitism and the hatred that's being directed, the demonization and delegitimization of the State of Israel. Together with President Trump, our Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, will stand together tall and firm, and we will confront this moral depravity without fear and with determination. And now we'll turn to taking care of the families of these 2 victims. And again, I think the American administration, the city of Washington, and the law enforcement officers who are on this case are going to get to the bottom of it and bring justice to this city and to the people of Washington and the United States and the people of Israel who are here feeling confident and safe in the city of Washington and around the United States of America. Thank you.
It's time for your most favorite segment of the show, the sports news. Let's get sporty. In the world of boxing, Filipino legend Manny Pacquiao is coming out of retirement at 46 years old. The 8th Division World Champion is set to face the WBC interim welterweight champion Mario Boris in Las Vegas this July. It's a shocking return nearly 4 years after his last professional fight, and it comes just weeks before Pacquiao is inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Here's a closer look at the comeback of the People's Champ.
Boxing legend Manny Pacquiao is making a dramatic return to the ring. At 46, Pacquiao will face WBC title holder Mario Barros on July 19th in Las Vegas, his first fight in nearly 4 years. Pacquiao's journey from poverty to global stardom made him a national hero in the Philippines and a beloved figure worldwide. After retiring in 2021 and serving as a senator, he seemed to have closed the curtain on a historic career. But now, following a failed bid, he's lacing up the gloves once more. With his Boxing Hall of Fame induction set for June 8th, Pacquiao could have closed the book on an extraordinary career, but instead, he's choosing to write one more chapter. For him, this fight isn't just about belts or titles, but about pride, legacy, and proving that a true champion never stops fighting. Elvin Muyodi, GPS Sports.
NFL owners have unanimously approved the participation of players in flag football for the 2028 Olympics. During the spring meetings held in Minnesota, the league secured authorization to negotiate safety provisions and scheduling logistics with the NFL Players Association, the international governing body for the sport, and relevant Olympic authorities, paving the way for this event at the next Summer Games in Los Angeles.
The NFL owners have agreed players can now take part in flag football at the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles.
I think you may have all been informed, but we're excited to announce today that the NFL owners unanimously passed a resolution giving every NFL player an opportunity to play in the Olympics in 2028 in Los Angeles. I think this news represents a great opportunity for the sport, for the NFL. It's truly the next step in making NFL football and football a global sport.
Now, the NFL will work with the Players Association, International Flag Football groups, and Olympic officials to make sure everything is safe and well planned.
I know how important this is, not only for the youth here in the United States, but the youth also across the country in West Africa, across Ghana. Had the pleasure of going back recently, a month ago, to host a talent scouting camp in Accra, Ghana, to find the best talent in the country to one day represent their country, and that's something that every kid wants.
Fans, players, and teams are excited, and the countdown to LA 2028 has officially begun. Reporting for GBS News, I'm Klein Mungai.
Crank your volume and listen to this. Tottenham Hotspur have made history defeating Manchester United 1-0 to win their first European trophy in over 40 years. Brennan Johnson's first half goal secured the victory, marking Spurs' first major title since 2008 and earning them a coveted spot in the next season's Champions League.
Tottenham Hotspur claimed their first European trophy in over 4 decades, defeating Manchester United 1-0 in the Europa League final. Brennan Johnson's first half strike sealed the victory, giving Spurs their first major title since the 2008 League Cup. The win also guarantees them a spot in next season's Champions League, offering much-needed relief after a tough Premier League campaign. The triumph is a historic one for Tottenham, marking their 98th victory in UEFA competitions, breaking the record they previously shared with AS Roma. For manager Ange Postecoglou, it's a moment of redemption, securing silverware despite a challenging season.
It's definitely been the toughest thing I've ever done, without a shadow of a doubt. And I knew that going into it. You know better than me that this club's had some unbelievable world-class coaches, world-class players, and they haven't had a night like this. So I knew what I was taking on. And it's fair to say that it's been really challenging because, wherever else I've had success by this stage, I've kind of had the faith and trust of everybody. And
in contrast, Manchester United's disappointing defeat adds pressure on manager Ruben Amorim as they sit 16th in the Premier League and will miss European football next season. For Spurs, this victory is a bright spot in a difficult year, potentially marking the start of a new chapter. Elvin Muyodi, GBS Sports.
Well, we've come to the end of the news bulletin. It is always a pleasure having you on board. Let's do this again next time. Same channel. We make your news our business. My name is Stephen George, and our sign language interpreter tonight has been Alan Kiama. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.